Hey, what it do, y'all? I'm your host, Will. Welcome to Fandom Frequency. We get into all various topics of pop culture, anime, wrestling, movies, anything in between. We get into it here. So if you dig the vibe, if you want to discuss this topic that we're talking about today, especially down below in the comments, make sure you do that. Click all the buttons below the video. We really do appreciate all the support and all the new subscribers coming in lately, and just appreciate any support that we can get for the channel. So, why don't we go ahead and get into this retro review? One of my personal favorites, a modern classic in my mind. I remember seeing this as a 13-year-old kid, and I'm talking about Cloverfield from 2008, directed by Matt Reeves, starring actors such as, TJ Miller and people like that. And we also get the guy that played one of the main bad guys in Luke Cage season 1 and 2 as well. I'll have to throw that actor's name in here because I cannot remember his name off the top of my head. So you do got some fairly known actors in this day and age that got their start here in this film. Obviously, with T.J. Miller going on to do the Deadpool 1 and 2 with Ryan Reynolds and everything like that before he ended up getting into some kind of controversy or something like that. If any of y'all know the details on that, you can drop that in the comments below as well. But yeah, man, this is personally one of my favorite found footage films of all time, and it's one of the few films in my mind, other than some logic issues we'll get into, obviously, in the film with the way that the story had to be set up due to the format of the film and kind of the limitations of the time. But overall, it used the format very well, and it was just very effective, just sucking you in to the immersive experience of being in this larger than life city, dealing with this larger than life threat in this monster that comes down to earth or comes out of the ocean or whatever in New York and completely fucking levels Manhattan and fucks up everything. And even the way that the film starts out, where it shows like it's like someone's watching back the footage that was recorded on the camera by TJ Miller's character HUD the whole time through, or most of the time throughout the film, and showing some old clips that the main character had recorded of him and his girlfriend several months before the events of this film take place, because a lot of those clips are in April, and when all the stuff goes down in Manhattan with the monster and the whole Cloverfield thing goes down, Operation Cloverfield, if you will, that's all happening in the end of May before the main character moves to Japan, who also is working for a corporation that seemingly, from the marketing strategy that we'll also get into, was hinting at in this film that he was affiliated with the company that has something to do with the government, having something to do with this monster appearing on Earth or from a different dimension or what have you. Some of this stuff was followed up in Cloverfield Paradox back in like 2020 or 2019 or something like that, right after the Super Bowl on Netflix. But that sequel was so sloppy and so all over the place. It just didn't carry out the threads or make any sense connecting to the first film at all, because they took one other film that was like a sci-fi thriller unto itself and wedged it into the Cloverfield universe, similar to what they did with the sequel to this, 10 Cloverfield Lane. But with that film, Dan Trachtenberg and everyone involved, like J.J. Abrams, who was the producer of the original Cloverfield and one of the overseers, and I think Matt Reeves might have also consulted on that, so where they were able to implement some of the Cloverfield connections in the marketing campaign and hint at certain things in the film, or even at an alternate alien threat that's going on around the same time, and that there's multiple things going on. There was a lot of more cool kind of things they were alluding to in that second film, 10 Cloverfield Lane, that we will get into on the channel within the near future for sure, so keep your eyes peeled for that. We might even do Cloverfield Paradox, who the hell knows? But overall, we're talking about the first film right here. And like I said, this was directed by Matt Reeves, who's gone on to do huge ass blockbusters and some of the best ones of the past decade, with Dawn of the Planet of the Apes in 2014 and with War for the Planet of the Apes in 2017, if I remember correctly. And then he also followed that up with The Batman that came out in 2022, one of my personal favorite comic book films in the last 5 years, hands down, and maybe all time. Who knows how that's going to go. But he's also just been one of my favorite filmmakers in general. There's very few movies that he's made so far that I haven't seen, and every film that I've seen that he's made, I'm absolutely in love with, or think it's at least really good quality filmmaking at the very least. The only thing that he's really known for doing that I haven't seen quite yet was Let Me In, his American remake to the foreign horror film Let the Right One In, which is a vampire film, which maybe we'll have to discuss those on a different day as well. But yeah, Matt Reeves, always been one of my favorite all-time filmmakers out there today, and just in the world of genre as well. And honestly, even though he's working on the Batman and it does have some horror thriller vibes to it, I would love to see Matt Reeves return to doing horror or sci-fi full on and doing not necessarily a Cloverfield follow-up, but just something in that same vein. It doesn't have to be found footage either, but I would love to see him return to this world. And like I mentioned with the found footage element, this was a huge subgenre for some of you Gen Zers that were barely being born when a lot of these were coming out. So you're aware of these. I'm sure these are some of the movies you came up watching, along with the jump scare athon movies that are the possession kind of spooky house horror films that are going on today. Those are kind of the two main subgenres going on, other than some of these big slasher hits and some of the indies that come through with A24 and Neon. But generally, the big trendy two subgenres of, I would say, at least the early to mid 2000s to now in the 2020s, I would definitely say is going to be those supernatural spooky house movies, and definitely was found footage movies. But especially from the year like 2000 to 2010 or 11, found footage movies were a dime a dozen, and they were coming at you like all the fucking time. But this one, to me, stands above the pack because it's very effective in being that kaiju type of monster, alien invasion type of movie, but it's also just a very tense thriller that actually takes time to build out its characters and show the relationships that they have to each other and what they mean to each other. And even just people being infatuated with others and trying to help their friends survive through this terrible situation after they're having a surprise party to celebrate their friend getting a great new job and promotion. So all the friendship, the love, and all that stuff, the real relationships with the characters, you actually do feel it in this movie, and you do feel bad for some of these people. They do make some dumb decisions like carrying the camera the entire time during some of this crazy shit that's going down, but due to the format, they had to have a camera to capture a lot of the footage because they weren't doing this as a traditional film, and maybe just doing two of those same subgenre or doing that subgenre with a regular camera format just wasn't something Matt Reeves wanted to do. Might not have had the budget to do it, but either way, I would just say for found footage, it's effective. It's not too shaky to where you don't know what the hell's going on like every single time action goes down. But to me, sometimes that kind of adds to it and makes it a little more effective when it's a little more shaky and it's a little more harder to see certain things, because I think in certain situations, you just wouldn't see a clean shot of it if it's someone recording it with a handheld camera, especially from the mid to early 2000s. You know what I'm saying? In the late 2000s, whatever. In the 2000s, those weren't exactly HD, 4K, 8K cameras, you know what I'm saying? 2040p and shit like that. That wasn't a thing. This was like 480 at best, you know what I mean? 720 if you maybe had some super high end shit. So this was a much different time, much different graphics, but I feel like everything is lit pretty well. Everything that needs to be in the dark and the things that they need to put in the shadows with the bigger effects and things like that. I think Matt Reeves and the team really pulled it off. I think the acting's actually pretty damn good in this movie. Very solid. There's some actors in here, like I mentioned before, some character actors that you'll recognize and have seen in other things like Bates Motel or what have you. And you'll see that they give some really good performances and are really convincing in their roles. And you actually feel the connections that they have to each other and that they actually have history with each other, and through their faults and through their flaws, you do understand where the characters are coming from, who they kind of are as people, and you feel bad for them when everything's going down, but it's not like pulling any punches when people get killed and when people are getting got, you know what I mean? Like the one chick that the guy's all in love with, even though he's kind of simping in a way, she literally blows up after she gets infected by the smaller baby versions of the monsters that come out and everything like that. And just the creature design in general was actually pretty cool, I would say, in and of itself. It's not the dopest design I've ever seen for a creature or kaiju type thing, but overall for the effects and for the budget they had, it's really well done, you know what I'm saying? And that whole mystery box element that they had is super cool. And then getting into my first time seeing it, and we're going to do it in reverse how we normally do it, I saw this film in theaters the weekend it came out. So on January 18th, 2008, when this was released, I went as a kid and saw it on a Friday night after school and told everyone about it over the weekend when I got a chance to see all the homies and all that. I was a 13-year-old kid and I was so hyped on it because I was swept up in the marketing campaign as well when it was coming to all the government files and all the different websites and the links that you can find and click through, because I saw a preview for this film in late 2007 and we were all speculating it was a Godzilla movie, so I was Googling this movie and looking up stuff on YouTube in the very infancy of YouTube, like literally a year or two after it really came out and popped off, maybe 3 years into it. So there wasn't a lot of stuff. There wasn't all these channels like this or other channels that are out there in the kind of film world or whatever, or in this kind of like film Twitter, kind of in this more movie pundit, movie critic kind of thing that we got going on these days for the past 10 to 15 years now. That wasn't a thing back then. So you were really scattering to try to find this stuff. But once you got a hold of the marketing campaign and went off the links from the teaser trailer and found out the information you could about it, it was such a cool mystery, and I couldn't wait to see what the film was gonna be. And then by the time you found out it was found footage, that interested me even more, because the only found footage movie I had ever seen up until that point was the Blair Witch Project from '99. I saw that in like 2006, maybe like the year before, maybe 2007, but I saw that around that time. So I was a few years late to the movie, obviously, but that was the first found footage film I ever saw. This was about the same year or maybe a year or so before Paranormal Activity, if I'm not mistaken. So those were kind of the first three more influential found footage films that really got me into the horror side of things. And then Project X on the more kind of raunchy comedy side of things, and bringing in a different genre into it and switching things up there, which is another movie we might have to cover on the channel eventually. But I digress. Getting back on subject here. So it was just so cool to see this as a 13-year-old kid and get swept away in the adventure and the experience. And for me personally, even without the nostalgia in there, I still think this is one of the better found footage films. It's a very solid horror movie. Not an excellent horror movie in my opinion, but it's really good. I think it's really solid, very effective, very good at what it was trying to set out to do. And I think it was just perfectly hit what they wanted to do. You know what I'm saying? But I do think there's some inherent flaws to the found footage formula and whatnot. And I do think there's some logic issues with certain things going on. But overall, it's a hella entertaining film. I recommend you all go out there and check this out. And if you have a lot of nostalgia and memories with it, like me, if you're around my age and saw it back in '08, let me know your first time seeing the film as well in the comments below. I love discussing that type of stuff with you guys. We got a lot of fun videos planned up for the channel. We got some more retro movie reviews coming at y'all. I got my SummerSlam preview, SummerSlam kind of a reaction and everything. It's going to be a few days late, but that should be up on the channel within the next 24 hours or so of you seeing this video right here. I also have some music stuff we're going to be dropping this week on the YouTube channel. I got some things planned for the podcast, so make sure I'll keep you guys posted on that. There's some stuff coming on the audio kind of podcast format that we're going to be rejuvenating over there, so make sure you keep your eyes peeled for that. And we got the X-Men tier ranking I just did of all 14 X-Men films. Took me hours and hours to edit that one, so I'd really appreciate if you guys go on over there and check that video out. And we got some fun stuff planned for the channel. Alien Romulus is right around the corner as well. There's that horror movie Cuckoo that just came out that I'm interested in. So we got a lot of content coming at y'all, so make sure you stay tuned, don't sleep, and I'm going to see you again on the next video. Much love, y'all. Peace.